Hi, my name's Natasha. This is my Psych in the News presentation for my Intro to Psych class. I want to start off by apologizing if there's any weird background noise. I have cats. They don't like to behave. So, the news article I found was called Reading Minds with Ultrasound, a less invasive technique to decode the brain's intentions. So that kind of caught my eye. When I got into the actual article, that's actually titled Single Trial Decoding of Movement Intentions Using Functional Ultrasound Neuroimaging. So it's a very scientific paper, lots of medical terminology. It took a dictionary to understand. But basically, what this study was the researchers took two monkeys and did multiple sessions on them by using ultrasound waves that they projected through their head after removing a small piece of their skull. And it was able to see the change in blood flow in certain parts of the brain, in one part for eye movement and in both sides of the brain for reaching when they go to reach for something. And by measuring that change in blood flow, they were able to put that data into a computer, and it was able to predict accurately when the eyes were going to move or when the monkey was going to reach before they even actually did anything. So they were trained to do a very specific task. If they saw a red dot, then they use a joystick and they put the blue dot over here, and it had to be in specific spots. Those were the controlled factors. So once they started this, in the very beginning, the computer was able to accurately predict the movements 61.5% of the time. But 30 minutes into the session, it was 100% accurate. So through all of the sessions they did, from the beginning of the trial to the very end, it was on average able to predict eye movement 78.6% of the time, and the reaching movement 88.5% of the time, which is pretty accurate. And this is significant because previously they would use things like functional MRI, so just an MRI picture of your brain, but that was fairly fuzzy. And they would also use electrodes that they insert into your brain, but those are only able to predict very, very tiny, limited amounts of space. And it also requires brain surgery, where they not only have to cut into your skull, but then the layer around your brain, and then insert these into your brain, and then they stay there permanently, which can cause severe brain damage. So, able to use the ultrasound, the piece of your skull that they remove, they are able to put back, and then your body naturally heals. So, while it's still slightly invasive, it's much more minimally invasive. They were also able to project when they were having memories. So, not only could they see the blood flow increase when they were going to, look, when they saw the dot or look towards the dot, but there was also increased blood flow on the part of their brain where they were remembering that I see the dot, now I must do this. So it doesn't sound like it has a lot to do with psychology, but really it's what it can do for psychology in the future. So while it not only can predict while you're having a memory, but as they see that increase in blood flow, they are also able to determine what the effectors are, so what is causing you to have that memory. being able to measure all of these things, and as the technology increases and research increases and new findings come out, it could really help people with things like schizophrenia or PTSD with their ability to predict behaviors. So they can focus on the part of the brain that is affected, with things like schizophrenia. And they can not only be able to more accurately classify the behavior, so is it severe schizophrenia, is it just a mild case, and things like that, but they can then also really pinpoint a more effective treatment. If they were to do this on humans and they have your based scans basically of your brain, and they start a treatment given an appropriate period of time, they can monitor that with those ultrasound information, and if that treatment is having very little or no effect, then instead of going through a full course of treatment that is not working, they can then stop and start what could possibly be a more effective treatment, which could save a lot of time and money. There was talk at the end of the article about having human test subjects, possibly using people who, due to severe brain trauma, already have like a hole in their skull, possibly being able to use those patients as human trials, which kind of brings into the ethical point. Is it ethical to cut somebody's skull open and scan their brain with an ultrasound? So, as women know, ultrasounds don't hurt. You don't feel anything other than generally the pressure of them pushing on you. They're not pushing on your brain in this study. And with the piece of your skull being cut off and being able to be then held and replaced when they're done, I don't think it's that much of an ethical issue. I think you would have to give them permission to do so, and if they did turn around and use this as a psychological treatment of some sort, you would actually really be seeking that, so you would know, or at least get the information ahead of time, that they're going to cut your head open and use this. But they are not, this ultrasound thing, they basically put plastic over the hole and then use the ultrasound wand. It's not actually touching your brain at all. It is not going through the protective layer between your brain, your actual brain, and your skull. So, while it is slightly invasive, and there's always risks when it comes to cutting anything on your head, it is a lot less of a possible disaster, I guess, would be the way I would put it, than if somebody stuck an electrode in your brain that is now going to be there for the rest of your life and potentially cause worse problems than you already have. So, but that's the article I found, and yeah, while it's not very clearly psychology related, I do believe that as they do more testing and advance this technology, they would really be able to use it in certain areas of psychology, and it could become very beneficial to treating psychological disorders, or at least helping manage it. So, that's my presentation. Thank you.